everyone, this is Dawn. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make a couple of cards using this stamp set called Palm Paradise. So let's get started. I'm going to stamp a whole bunch of images and then we'll go from there. So I'm seasoning the stamp because this is a new stamp set. So I just rub it with a microfiber cloth until it looks a little cloudy. And then I'm stamping it off on some scratch paper. And I'm putting the foam backing from the stamp set underneath my piece of white daisy cardstock just to give it a little extra cushion because it's kind of detailed on this stamped image. So I'm going to stamp out several. And then I'm going to stamp this leaf. Actually, I'm going to stamp a bunch of different leaf shapes, but I'm going to start with this one. So again, I'm stamping it off with a light color on some scratch paper. And then I'm going to take clover and I'm going to stamp those images out. So this one is a base and shade stamp, which means it's got another solid shape of the same image so that you can fill in that lined image. But before I do that, I'm going to take some Sweet Leaf cardstock. I'm using the light side of Sweet Leaf. And then I'm doing some tone on tone random stamping to kind of make my own piece of patterned paper here. So I'm just stamping this leaf around. And I'm stamping off the edge of the cardstock to give it sort of a more random look. Okay, so now I'm taking the base and shade, and this is the shade stamp of that set. And when you're stamping a solid stamp, make sure that you don't see any air bubbles underneath the stamp on your block, and that helps you get a more solid stamped image when you put it down. So this fills in the solid areas of that leaf design. It looks really cool in real life. So now I've colored in those leaf shapes without having to use markers. So I'm going to add a little extra bit to this image by embossing clear embossing powder over it so this leaf looks shiny like they kind of do in real life. So I am embossing that same solid image, or not embossing, but I'm stamping in Versamark, and then I'm sprinkling clear embossing powder over it. So you'll still see the green ink underneath it. It'll just be more vibrant and shiny. So now I'm heat embossing it, and you'll see the effect happen in a second when it melts. They look really cool when they're done, I think. So just to add a little extra touch to the card. Okay, so those are ready to go. I'll get my embossing stuff out of the way and cleaned up here, and now I'm going to stamp some more images. So I'm going to take this little hibiscus flower. I'm not sure how many I'm going to want to use for my card front, so I like to just get all my stamping done first. So I'm just stamping a whole bunch, and whatever I don't use for these cards today, I will stick in the envelope with the stamp set, and I can save them for another time if I need a quick card. It's a handy little tip to have those extras all ready to go, and then you can make more cards in the future. Okay, and so then that's that other small leaf that I stamped a bunch of those too. So now this is a palm frond, and it's another one that's a base and shade. So I'm stamping the outline portion of it, and I'm going to use evergreen. I'm just using a variety of green colors that look sort of tropical, so just want to have some choices and change things up to make it a very colorful card. Okay, so those two are done, and then I'll get another one. And then I'm going to take the shade portion of that stamp, not portion of the stamp, but other stamp that's the shade version of the stamp. And I'm going to season that. And then I'm going to fill in that outline of that palm frond. I'm using Sweet Leaf. No, I'm not. I'm using green apple. So, I use the Sweet Leaf because it's a light color, and when you're seasoning a stamp and stamping for the first time, it's good to use a really pale color so that it doesn't stain. It helps prevent it from staining as badly. And then you can go to a darker color. So I'm filling this one in with green apple. And then we'll get cleaned up. And now I am going to stamp the sentiment, and it says, "You're the best." And I'm going to stamp that in black ink. And I'm leaving enough room on this piece of white daisy cardstock so that I can cut a banner shape. And the word best is an outline, so I'm coloring it in. And I'm using some of the same marker colors that I'm going to use to color in my parrot and flower images. So I'm just doing a quick coloring fill in just to give it a little pop of color. Okay, so now I've got all of my images, and off screen I colored in the parrot and the flowers and leaves with tri-blend markers. So they're ready to go, and I'm going to cut them out using the thin cuts on my Big Shot. So I'll cut one out, and then I didn't film the rest of it, but it's the same process. Just cutting out all of these images. Okay, so now I have everything all cut out. Let's make some cards. Okay, so here's everything for the other card. Now, I wasn't sure what to do with these images, and so you can always go to the Make It From Your Heart book and find a pattern. So this one is pattern 17 on page 38 of the Make It From Your Heart book. And I just chose a variety of mix-in papers and zip strips. And this is a piece of the Lagoon UV coated cardstock from the Blue Skies collection. It has like a sort of dotted vertical line. So that's going to be my base, and I'm leaving a white border because the cutouts and the sentiment are on white daisy, so I kind of wanted to tie everything together. So I've trimmed the piece of patterned random stamping cardstock that I made. I trimmed that down according to the pattern dimensions. And so now I'm just layering everything together, just like that little diagram tells you how to do it. Sometimes you get a stamp set and you love the stamp set, but then you start looking at it and it's like, okay, how do I put all these images together to make sense on the front of a card? So these Make It From Your Heart books are a great go-to for card designs. So I'm just getting everything laid out just like the diagram suggests. And now I'm going to add something to it, and I'm going to use that zip strip to kind of create a line for the parrot to kind of sit along, and where I can put all of my different embellishments and kind of have it anchored there. So this banner that I cut that says "You're the Best," I had planned on trimming it down so that it would fit. So I'm just trimming it right above where the words are. And now I'm just kind of laying everything out on the front of my card to figure out where I want everything to go and how many of these different images I want to place on my card front. And just moving things around to see what they look like before I start gluing. And went back to the first, where I started the first time around. So needed something for him to actually rest on, because you can see the curve of his feet. All right, I think I like that. Okay, so let's start gluing things down. I'm not going to pop everything just because there are so many layers of cardstock and patterned paper on this card. I'm just going to glue everything directly, but I will pop the parrot and the flower. So I'm just getting everything glued down. And that's where he's going to go, so I need to figure out where exactly to glue my leaf down to my card. I love all these bright, happy, colorful images. So I kept this part in as far as putting all the foam tape down on my image for this one, and then for the next one I'll skip ahead. If you guys like seeing all of the exact details of what I do to put these cards together as far as adhesive goes, if you can leave a comment, I can always edit it out. I don't know if it's boring for you to watch or if you're okay with it, but so I popped those two images and there's my card. So here are a couple of still pictures, close-ups of how it turned out. I didn't think it needed anything extra as far as any bling or anything else. I think it worked just with the stamped images and patterned papers and that one leaf that's embossed. So the next card, let's get started with that one. I'm using the UV coated cardstock from Blue Skies, and this is green apple. It has those diagonal UV coated stripes. I'm doing the same exact design. Now that I've got it all figured out, I'm gonna do the same thing. So I've cut these papers down according to the design in the Make It From Your Heart book. And this piece is with the little sun rays on it. It's from the Blue Skies collection. And then a piece of patterned paper from the Mix-In collection. And I thought I was going to use this piece of white daisy as the background to layer everything on top of. And that border color is evergreen. So I'm laying everything out just to see, and I wasn't completely happy with that white daisy piece. So I'm bringing in a stencil that I made, and I've used this before. I just popped in a cloud stencil in Design Space on Cricut, and I just cobbled together a variety of different cloud shapes and kind of put this image together and cut it with the stencil paper from Close to My Heart on my Cricut and made a stencil. And so I'm moving these around on that piece of white daisy cardstock and blending in some sweet leaf. And I know that seems kind of odd to use a green color for clouds, but I'm taking a little artistic license here and I like it, so it works for me, so that's okay. So I'm just layering everything and moving my stencil around, just to keep everything different, and blending in some ink along the edge of that stencil. Okay, so now we can layer the rest of it together. So that's my piece that I made, and I'm going to put it down on the dark side of evergreen. And then we'll get everything glued down to the card front, and pretty soon I'll skip ahead to the end because the rest of it is, as far as adhesive and placing things on the card front, they're exactly the same as the other card. So I've got my zip strip. This zip strip is from the Stitched Together collection. It's got some stripes of sweet leaf along there. I'm going to trim down my little banner and put it to the card, and then I'm going to skip ahead, and then I'll have some close-up shots of this finished card. Okay, so now I'm going to pop the parrot and a flower. And there's my finished card. So I appreciate you taking some time today to watch my video. I will make a list of supplies and links in the description below. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Thanks for watching.